managed a roadside motel for 11 years. I've seen things in that job that would surprise you, and the full range of human behavior compressed into a car park and 22 rooms. But only one thing ever made me consider burning the whole property down. Room 11 never booked. Not never as in rarely, never as in 11 years of operation, not a single guest was ever successfully checked into room 11 and made it through the night. And the room was always made up by morning. Bed straightened, towels replaced, complimentary toiletries arranged on the bathroom shelf, as if someone had stayed, as if someone had been very comfortable and was keeping the room ready for a return. My name is Joanna Ferris. This is what happened in room 11. The motel was a 40-room property off a highway junction, the kind of place that fills up on Friday nights with commercial travelers and road trippers who miss their connection farther up the route. Clean enough, unremarkable enough, positioned well enough to run at 60% occupancy through most of the year. I took over as manager in my first year with high organizational energy and a belief that good systems solve most problems. I audited everything: booking software, housekeeping schedules, maintenance logs, linen inventory. The first anomaly I noticed was in the booking records. Room 11 showed 0 successful overnight stays going back as far as the digital records ran. 6 years. I asked my deputy manager, Carla, who'd been with the property since before the digital records. She looked at her clipboard for a moment and then said, "Room 11 has a guest." "Who booked it?" "Nobody books it," she said. And she walked away. I assumed she was being cryptic about a permanent occupancy situation, and sometimes long-term arrangements exist outside the normal booking system. I went to room 11 and knocked. No answer. I used my master key. The room was immaculate. Bed made with the precision of a hotel. Training video, hospital corners, pillows centered, towels folded on the rail, toiletries arranged. The curtains were drawn. The temperature was several degrees colder than the corridor. And on the desk, a single item, a room key. Not a card key, an old brass key on a diamond-shaped fob, the kind the property had used before the card system was installed. I picked it up, turned it over. The number 11 was stamped into the brass. I brought it to Carla. She looked at it without touching it. "Put it back where you found it," she said. "Where did it come from?" She met my eyes. "It comes back," she said. "Every time we remove it, it comes back. Leave it, leave the room, don't book it." I was the manager. I overrode her. I had a property to run and a room sitting empty costing me revenue. That was my first mistake. I booked room 11 for the first time on a busy autumn weekend. A couple, last minute, other rooms full. I put them in 11, noted it in the system, went home. At 2:15 a.m., my emergency line rang. The couple. They were in the car park, would not return to the room, demanded a refund. The man's voice was shaking in a way I had never heard a grown man's voice shake. I asked what had happened. He said, "There was someone in the room, standing at the foot of the bed. We woke up and it was just standing there, not moving, just watching us." I drove to the property. The room was empty. The bed was slept in on both sides. Their belongings were still inside. They had left so fast they'd taken only their keys. But the room key, the brass one, the old one, was back on the desk. I had locked it in my office safe before I left that evening. Over the following 3 years, I booked room 11 11 times, always under pressure, always when every other room was full. The outcomes were consistent. As guests woke in the night, saw a figure standing in the room, fled. Twice the police were called. Once a guest required medical attention for shock. Not one person made it to checkout. The figure described across 11 separate incidents by people who had no contact with each other. Tall, still, standing at the foot of the bed. Not threatening, not moving, simply present, watching. One guest, a retired school teacher who was angry rather than frightened and wrote me a 4-page letter of complaint, described the figure as wearing old-fashioned clothing and having a quality she struggled to articulate. It wasn't that I could see through it, she wrote. It was that I couldn't quite see it, like looking at something in your peripheral vision that disappears when you look directly. I stopped booking room 11 after the 11th attempt. I left the brass key on the desk. I instructed housekeeping to service the room on their normal schedule and told them not to report anything unusual to me unless it was structural. They never reported anything unusual. The room was always immaculate by morning. I sold the property 2 years ago. Before I transferred the management files to the new owner, I removed the housekeeping notes for room 11, not to hide anything, but because the new owner was young and optimistic, and I didn't want to be responsible for what she might do. I drove past the motel last month. The sign was freshly painted, the car park was busy. Room 11's curtains were drawn. They're always drawn. Comment where you are watching from right now and hit subscribe on NeuroFear HQ. Episode 3 is already waiting for you. Trust us. You need to see it.